Warning, the information in this video may be sensitive to some viewers. Viewer discretion advised. A Georgia family is now suing Uber for their teenage daughter being picked up on the Uber platform by a driver and then brought to a man's home to be R-word.
A mother in Georgia is suing Uber and the Uber driver after saying her teenage daughter was trafficked using their car here in Metro Atlanta. I'm Lana Harris with the news. I'm gonna spare you the details of what actually happened to this girl, but police say she was just 14 at the time, and that the Uber driver picked the girl up at a deserted gas station after midnight back in November and took her at least 30 miles away to a man's house in Jonesboro. So just so we're all on the same page, the man calls the Uber driver picks up the 14-year-old and takes her to his house from a deserted gas station at midnight. So 23-year-old Thomas Bonner is now in the Clayton County Jail facing a slew of charges. And the lawsuit says this is what happens when a corporation turns a blind eye to the hazards of transporting minors. The lawsuit points out that Uber and the driver got paid off that trip, delivering her daughter to an attacker's doorstep without even questioning how sus the entire situation was. So Uber released a statement saying that the specifics of this case are gut-wrenching and that basically they try to teach drivers about the signs of trafficking and how to report it. But mom still wants Uber and that driver to be punished, and they want Uber to have stronger security measures. Like if these updates help, and follow for more news.
Now, I was a little bit skeptical at first when I heard this story because the person on TikTok was a little vague. So you know me, I can't just leave the story like that. I had to do some research. So a quick simple Google search and I was able to find the actual news article. Now in the news article, they talked more about the stepfather and not the mom. So he was the one who ended up going to pick her up after the situation occurred.
Is suing Uber after they say the rideshare company drove their teenager to the home of an accused sex trafficker where they say she was drugged and raped. Channel 2's Michael Seiden is live in Buckhead. And Michael, you spoke with the victim's stepfather about what happened.
Absolutely, and you can only imagine what this family's been through. Now, the attorney for this family says he's hoping this story will grab the attention of lawmakers here in Georgia. That's because right now there is a potential piece of legislation that, if signed into law, this attorney claims that it could protect Uber and other rideshare companies from liability. Now, as you mentioned, this stepfather heartbroken over what happened, but he wants to share his story to prevent this from happening to another teen in Georgia.
I don't want any other family to go through the same trauma that our family went through.
Sean Glaze describes it as the most terrifying experience of his life. The Butts County resident says the nightmare began last November after an Uber driver took his 15-year-old stepdaughter to the home of an alleged human sex trafficker, where police say he drugged and raped her repeatedly for 4 straight days.
We didn't see any red flags that would have led to this. She didn't have a phone.
Sean says his stepchild met the suspect while playing video games online, and at some point he sent her an Uber. In fact, investigators say this surveillance photo from a local gas station shows the moment the Uber driver picked up his teenage stepdaughter at 1:40 in the morning, then drove her 30 miles to the accused predator's home in Jonesboro. The teen's family is now suing Uber, hoping to hold the rideshare company accountable for allowing their child to be driven without their permission.
And from our perspective, this case would never have been a case if the Uber driver verified her age.
In a statement to Channel 2 Action News, a spokesperson for the rideshare company told us in part, the specifics of this case are gut-wrenching. Uber's committed to helping combat human trafficking, and we continue to build on years' worth of investments and prevention efforts, including equipping every driver with educational resources on spotting the signs of and reporting suspected trafficking cases. Yeah, and that spokesperson went on to say that the rideshare company is also working with advocacy organizations and state attorneys general to develop educational content and help drive awareness across the country.
Now, that was a very unfortunate situation. My prayers and condolences go out to that family. I know this young girl is going to need a lot of therapy and a lot of prayer. I really feel terrible about this situation. I don't know how this may play out. I'm going to try to do some more research to see if there's any sort of updates. If I find any updates, I will record another video to tell you guys what all happened. Now, the problem that is going to lie, I think, and this is all speculation. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know, but this is what I'm just taking from this. The problem that's going to lie is Uber is going to look at it and say, well, court is going to look at it and say, how can you hold the driver responsible? For one, a lot of times drivers do not verify if somebody's a child or not. And if she looks of age and she gets in the car and you're just assuming that she's old enough to be in the vehicle, no one actually takes the time out to say, hey, you look like a little kid, like, let me see some ID. That usually doesn't happen. And especially at 1 o'clock in the morning, a lot of strange things go on. You are transporting people and you don't know what they have going on. So your job as an Uber driver usually is to just safely transport the person to and from where they need to go, especially at 1 a.m. Because at that point, your head is kind of on a swivel and you don't know what kind of people are getting in your vehicle. Now, I don't think that was the driver's fault at all. That's just my personal opinion. Some people may highly disagree, but that is not the driver's fault. Now, if this girl looked like she was 7, then yeah, that's different. You know what I'm saying? But if she was a teenager, I don't know what she looked like, so I can't judge. But if she was a teenager and she looked and appeared to be like 18 or 21, you know, that's really not on the driver. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I feel Uber's lawyers are going to say. So this might be a really bad situation. Also, the girl met this person, this man, online. So it's not like it was a situation where, you know, it was just random, like she just got kidnapped and thrown in the car. They're going to look at it and say, well, how are we supposed to know that she met this guy online? This has nothing to do with Uber. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest, they can deflect and say that has everything to do with parenting, because as a parent, you should know your child's whereabouts and how did your child get out the house at 1 a.m. without you knowing. There's a lot of things that can happen with this. But, you know, again, we don't know what may happen, but y'all get down in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this one. I thought this was a very crazy story and it's a very unfortunate situation. I'm really, really sorry for this young girl that had to go through this, because this really sucks that in this day and age, people still do disgusting and vile things like this. No matter what the situation was, you know, wrong is wrong, evil is evil. And we rebuke that in the name of Jesus. Anyway, I don't want to get all preachy in this video. That's all I got. Peace.